After October 7th, everything changed for the Israelis. It's just not what they're thinking of. Now, when we talk about Hezbollah, and again, I think it's worthwhile if we can stop here and talk about Hezbollah. What is the problem with Hezbollah? The Shia population in Lebanon today, 30%, 40%, I don't know what it is. You know, right? Nobody can give you accurate numbers, but Shias are Lebanese. And they're as much Lebanese as Maronites or Sunnis or Druze or any other faction. Hezbollah in Lebanon is a political party. It does a great job in supplying all the municipal components to its southern community. And from the 80s, it was born out of necessity to protect and harness whatever wrongdoings were coming from the Israelis and secondarily the Palestinians. It then got into another mode, which was the military aspect, and the political aspect started to be confused by the West. And as we know, the military aspect was being funded by Iran. So over time, what happened is America and other Western countries looked and said, there's no difference. Hezbollah is Hezbollah. It's an Iranian proxy. It's a foreign terrorist organization, and it has to go. We, America, funding Lebanon. By the way, America loves Lebanon. And people who criticize me, and I'm happy for the criticism, I'm here for only one reason, is my heart, my soul, my family's heart and soul is Lebanese. My ability to express it is American. Because America gave me the gift to come from nothing to something. And what we here have to do is it's your generation that's going to change things. It's not the Jurassic Park generation that's been in control here for 50 years. With massive corruption, people freak out when I say that. There's nobody in Lebanon who doesn't think this place hasn't been corrupt for 5 decades. Of course it is. We have $110 billion missing. You have $60 billion out of a central bank that just vanishes. You have the highest electricity in the world. You have a central government that gives you nothing. There's no water, there's no electricity, there's no power. A laugh is the only communal thing that's there. And yet you have this dedication to the beautiful Lebanese history, and people in Beirut prosper. But Hezbollah itself is a part of the Lebanese world. So you can't just say, we want to disarm Hezbollah. Everybody's armed. You go into any car, you know, everybody's carrying a .357 Magnum. Most people have AK-47s or 50 caliber machine guns at home. I mean, this is not an environment where you're going to disarm small arms. And disarming is not really the issue. The issue is Hezbollah is looking and saying, we are the last stop for you against Israel and maybe Syria. And after El Suaida, that argument has become even more impactful, right? Because the Lebanese community is saying, wow, Israel just blew through the lines. They went all the way to Damascus. They might do that to us. And by the way, if they don't, we have a jihadist who may not love Shias that we're in constant dialogue with on this border boundary, and maybe that's going to happen there. They haven't fired a shot. Hezbollah hasn't fired a shot at Israel or anybody else since the signing of this November 2024 agreement. And in past history, the inside battle with Hezbollah, there's only been 1 or 2. So, what's the answer? The answer is you have to have a better solution for the Shia population. Let's forget about Hezbollah for a minute. And going to your very good question about Speaker Berry, I hold the 3 leaders that you have in unbelievably high regard. And I think it's an opportunity for Lebanon, for all of us, to empower them and use them in a manner that hasn't happened for 70 years. And Speaker Berry is a legislative, dynamic holdover of another era, but we need him. He is the voice and the power, not just to the Amal party, but to the Shia community. We have to listen to him. He has to help us. We have to figure out a path for the south of Lebanon. Disarm them is not the issue. How do we get them to not want to use weapons? How do we get them to rely on LAF? How do we give them another economic prospect other than taking money from Iran? And I can tell you one thing, this president, Iran, and I have this conversation, I wish, if the political situation were different, that I could sit down with Hezbollah, if they would listen to me and say, look, your road is to LAF, the Lebanese, and eventually, I know you hate the word, Israel. Israel is not your enemy. The US will stand by LAF, help fund them, and Iran is going to be gone, whether it's today, tomorrow, or the next day. The situation with Iran, the United States, and Israel is not going to sit by and allow them to continue on the path that they're on. It just isn't going to happen. You have path A, path B, path C, I don't know which path, but switch saddles on the horses now while you can to a better life. Not force you to have Sunni and Shia LAF disarming or fighting.
LAF as in Lebanese armed forces, just for the audience.
Yes.
The Lebanese military.
And they've been through a civil war. Nobody wants that again. Nobody wants another 1,000 boys and girls dead of Lebanese fighting with Lebanese. It's not going to happen. So I keep chipping away as, I'm like an Uber driver. I'm just trying to marry one point of view with another point of view and take them to a destination. It may not be the final destination, but at least we're moving someplace. And then from that destination, we can redefine it. And in Lebanon, there was a scurry today about comments that I made towards the press. I mean, let me start with saying, I have been the greatest friend, I'm the greatest supporter of the press all over the world. The media here, I've grown attached to. I understand that the chaos that exists in a news frenzy is not unique to Lebanon. It's all over the world. Look what happens at home, with the president and how he's organized things.
Or in Alaska with, remember President Putin, everyone was just yelling and President Putin was confused and yelling and then you see Trump upset on the side. So that's another recent example.
Right? So it's not, and look, if I had to do all over again, I wouldn't have used those words and I wouldn't have been as quick on the trigger. Why was it that way? We just finished all of these meetings. We brought 3 of the most powerful Congress people. This is the second CODEL. CODEL is the congressional appearances to these regions. Why is it so important in Lebanon? Is the answer for the Shias is to have a LAF that they trust. It needs more everything. LAF needs more money. It needs more equipment. It needs better pay for its people. And the Shias rely on the LAF. There hasn't been a program, but we need more money. We need more money for Lebanon. Where does the money come from? It doesn't come from President Trump. President Trump is the bright North Star. So he runs the Republican Party, which is now Congress, but Congress empowers and appropriates the funds. So I brought the head of the Appropriations Committee for the Senate, the head of the ranking member for the Foreign Relations Committee, and a senior member of Congress to have these meetings, and they had a love affair. So I'm trying to usher the best of Lebanese experiences, right? Besides hummus and tabbouleh and warm Lebanese hospitality, which they loved. And we walked into this firestorm, which I'm used to, but I'm freaking out, saying, wow, we just had the greatest experience, and now I've got a little bit of a disaster on my hand because I have 3 senior US officials who are going to misunderstand the frenzy that was created. So, I shouldn't have been so quick. Animalistic was a word that I didn't use in a derogatory manner. I'm just saying, can we calm down? Can we find some tolerance, some kindness? Let's be civilized. But it was inappropriate to do when the media is just doing their job. I understand more than anybody else. These things are complicated and difficult, and it's very rare that they have an opportunity to talk to people who actually are making the decisions. So they have the illusion that that's me. I should have been more generous with my time and more tolerant myself.
I do want to put it into context. The president of the United States has said worse things to the press when he's upset. And I think there's, I think people are just sick of politicians always sugarcoating how they feel and just saying the right thing at the right time. I think, when you want to be open and just, if you're upset, you speak in a way that you're upset, like President Trump. I think that comes with, saying things that are not polished. And I think this is something that should be appreciated in countries where politicians just polish every single word. I do want to go back, Mr. Ambassador, to something you said earlier about the worries when it comes to a greater Israel or some form of greater Israel. That's just a big issue they have in Lebanon. So a lot of people in Lebanon would say that, Hezbollah giving up weapons, not only giving, because from what I understand, the requirement is not to just give weapons to the Lebanese armed forces, is to destroy the Lebanese armed forces. They have to destroy those weapons. They cannot keep them to protect the country. So a lot of people are saying this just makes Lebanon a lot more vulnerable. Now, you said you don't have any concern. Then how would you explain to people that hear things like what Prime Minister Netanyahu said, I think 2 weeks ago on I-24 about, having some sort of connection or feeling connected to a greater Israel, or even the Finance Minister Smotrich being a lot more explicit, saying the future of Jerusalem is to expand to Damascus. Similar quotes of people that are more extreme in Israel. What would be your comment to the Lebanese people that hear this and say, Mr. Ambassador, we're fine having one military. The Lebanese armed forces are trusted in Lebanon by most Lebanese, but we worry what would happen if we destroy Hezbollah's capabilities, because Hezbollah proved capable in 2006.
I agree 100%. I agree with everything you said except for one fact. What's on the table at the moment is not for Hezbollah to disarm and give up their arms and have them destroyed. That's not a requirement, and your very good question has to be part of a new answer, right? Which is, that's not the issue. The issue isn't the weapons. The issue is the utilization of the weapons. So there's a lot of room between those two points of view. But here's how I view it. And of course, I could be wrong. The US point of view, all of our intelligence, all of our backing, the President of the United States, who I think everybody would say, people may like some of the things he says, not like some of the things, but the man has been right on. His instincts have been right on. He's supporting Israel as an engine to peace in the Middle East. Is that the right answer? Is it the wrong answer? Is it the in-between answer? It's the stated answer. So what I try and tell all of the Lebanese is we have to go to a new place. For 50 years, we've been on this road, this confessional road of Maronites, Sunnis, Shias, Druze, Melkites, Greek Orthodox, the confessional system. We're going to evaporate as a dinosaur. We're a tiny little, I say this pleadingly, right? This isn't about surrender. This is about survival. It is about survival. We will not survive. Your generation and your kids will not survive in this beautiful environment unless we adapt. But the road, the greater Israel, we're dealing with politics everywhere. Does Israel have the capacity or the desire to really geographically take over Lebanon? Absolutely. Probably in an afternoon. Why didn't they do it? They have the capacity to do the same thing in Syria. Why didn't they do it? We've had 5 agreements, but no signed agreements, and all with the wrong people. So you start with the armistice agreement, which was a real agreement in 1949. Then you start moving up the path. So we have, the beginning of the Palestinians, and then we have a civil war, and then we have a war with Hezbollah. Then we have a maritime alignment. Then the Taif agreement tries to solve everything. Then we go back to a series of cessation of hostility agreements. None of them work because none of them are with the right people. No one wants to deal with Israel. Israel is the enemy. They can't even say the name. And we don't want to deal with Hezbollah. Iran is a big factor, no matter what people say, in the entire equation. So we have all of these neighbors, and now we have Syria weighed in. We have Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the UAE trying to do the right thing. We have Egypt that's in abeyance, and we have Iraq that's going through a chaotic restructuring that's so dangerous? So the answer is dialogue. It's not going to work. What's worked in the past, we can kill each other, we can fire on our neighbors, we can be funded by the next funder of terrorist fundamentals that thinks we have a weakness. And what are we going to lose? Here in Lebanon, we have the most geopolitically important spot. We have the only multidisciplinary, multi-religious, historic spot in the world, which is really of value, right? To have this little enclave where you can still have every fact of Muslims and Christians and eventually Jews living side by side again, that's something. But we have to adapt. We've got to get rid of this anxiety from the past. The US is sitting here saying, we will help. But expectations of the future have got to be defined. And it's not the fear of Israel, it's trust. Israel doesn't trust Hezbollah. Hezbollah doesn't trust Israel. The Hezbollah doesn't trust LAF because LAF doesn't have the ability yet to fill that spot. And the politicians are all shifting, but you have some reformists in place that have the right idea. It's changing. But we all have to weigh in.
A difficult question I'm going to add to this. First, your statement that you think Israel's intention, that there's zero possibility or likelihood that Israel wants to, invade more territory in Lebanon or Syria. That is not their intention. They want peace on those borders.
But wait a second, that isn't what I said.
Oh, please correct me. I apologize.
I said they don't want to take over Lebanon or Syria. That's a difference.
Take over. I understand. So, do you think there is a risk they might want to take over some additional territory? Number one, and number two, what happens to the existing territory south of the Litani River, where Israel still certain territory that Israel's still there? They've even expanded their presence post the ceasefire agreement. Their reasoning is that to avoid Hezbollah expanding in the region, and obviously the territory in Syria. That there's been reports there is some sort of agreement there for Israel to pull out. On Lebanon, though, it's a bit more vague. Israel said, I don't remember the exact quote. I'm sure you spoke to Netanyahu. You know his intentions more than anyone. But in public, his office said that Israel's planning to work with Lebanon and assist Lebanon. I think that's the word he used. So I'm just curious to see what you think they mean. So they said stand ready to support Lebanon. That was their word from Netanyahu's office. So my question to you is, what happens to the territory where Israel's exists right now, Lebanese and Syrian territory?
Okay, first of all, let me tell you, Netanyahu